Morning guys, welcome back to the What Life. So this is a new series of ZRacing monthly events. This week we've got the OG course, Watopia Hilly, and if anyone knows this course, it's basically one hill coming out of Watopia, and then it's mostly downhill / flat, and then for this race you do it twice. Let's roll. There's no chat in this one because I was basically dying. I had a big weekend on the bike. This was a 7 a.m. Monday morning race. It goes off hard. I want to say I enjoyed it. I didn't really enjoy the start. It went off quite hard, so people took it out quite hard. To give you some stats about the race itself, let's have a look. It's 2 loops of Watopia Hilly forward course, 18.85k, 200 meters vert, 18.5k, what's that, 11 and a bit miles. So just about managed to hold on to the front group off the start. I think there was 57 people in the race all in all, which is pretty good numbers. So it was like, I haven't got too much experience with doing Zwift monthly like normal races. I really enjoyed the Crit series. I thought that was awesome fun, but Crit series felt like they were just like flat out the whole time, and then it kind of just gets harder towards the finish. This was a bit of a different event, and I kind of cut part of it out because the wattage just comes off completely towards like the middle of the race. So this is the hard part. This is the only hard part in the race, which is the hill after going through or off the start. Obviously we had quite a hard lead out, 300 odd watts, 300 for a sustained period. Then you come into this bit. My only goal was to try and stay with the group. There's the Aussie lads. I remember racing with those guys in one of the Crit series. They were a good team. Good bunch of guys that like to ride hard. So this hill was going to be the thing that kind of split the group. I knew that, so it was just a case of dogging and working hard for the hill. And this was always going to be the case, and I definitely had my doubts after going up this hill. At 300 watts, 320, I knew I had to work this hill hard. I knew that I just had to make it to the top and be in the group. And then that will give me half a chance to ride with the group. I'm not sure who's riding off the front there, but there were some guys that did manage to ride off front. We'll get into some of the stats on a bit later, but this was quite a hard climb for me. Like off the bat, 7 a.m, kind of hitting 300-400 watts just to kind of stay in the group. The whole aim of this was to just make sure I didn't get dropped and spat out the back. So just keeping a close eye on basically, the bunching, and you can kind of see that a few guys look like they're making a group up front. So I kind of had to work a little bit harder to try and get up there. Diving off the line and hitting 160 HR was quite hard work for me. I'm presuming my heart rate only gets higher. Holding 3, you can see my wattage top corner, top left. Have to work quite hard. This flat bit is quite good because it kind of feels like it's a bit of respite, but you have to work it to try and stay on the group, especially if you are back where I am. My legs were definitely feeling it this morning. Really struggled, so very happy to kind of just stay in the mix. Then if you look at the map on the top right, no one really knows how to use the topography map, which is the little kind of hilly version of the mini map, and that basically goes left and right sometimes. It is quite confusing. We're going up to the hill, and then you can basically see that it's all downhill from there, and then you'll do a second lap. So the aim was just to stay with the group. I knew that if I could make it up the hill, and you can see the arch on the mini map to the top right, I knew that was the top. I also could see that I was towards the back of the front group, so I was going to have to work hard. You can see me almost falling off here. I knew I had to work this. So the big difference is what I've realised, or what I've come to kind of think, is that if you can work off the top of a hill on like a Cat C race, then that's kind of going to put you in good stead. You can kind of ride back to the group, which basically means that you have to hold your wattage for a little bit longer. I think if it was a Cat B race, then the guys off the top would have just cycled harder off the top and not just kind of done the hill and then settled down a little bit. Because that's what it felt like on this Cat C race. It felt like you work the hill really hard, and as soon as the incline comes off, the wattage comes off. Look, my wattage is now like 170, 180, 190. So I cut through to the second lap, because after that, the wattage really did just drop down, and it wasn't particularly exciting. Kind of we're doing 150, and obviously I'm in the draft, so it's kind of a bit biased. I'm not at the front, but that's still a very low wattage, and that's what the whole first lap was once we got up the hill. So I thought I'd take you straight into the second loop, because the hill section is just the only, like, it's the interesting part of the race. And this is the part that kind of breaks the group up. At the moment, I think there's about 24 of us. Again, 57 people in the race total. And you can see that the wattage is so casual, like 160, 170. And I'm not saying that to be kind of an obnoxious cyclist. It just didn't feel like we were riding that hard. At one stage, my heart rate got back down to 135 just finishing the loop. And yes, I could have dived from the front and pushed a bit harder, but I also knew that this hill was coming up for lap 2. And I guess that's what everyone else was thinking, is that we've got 2 loops up this hill. The hill's the hard bit, everyone pushes it. So this is what I like to do on the hills, is I like to work my way to the front on the flat section, because no one was really working, right? So if you put in 200 watts, you nudge your way to the front, and then you can kind of just let yourself drift back a little bit. You don't have to hold, 320 watts. You can hold 310. And that makes a difference to me. And that's my little tactic, my secret little tactic when it comes to some of these hills. If I know these guys are climbing faster than me, then if I get to the hill first, because they're not pushing hard watts, then I can usually, and then same again here, right? I realize it flattens out. So if I just hold my wattage just a little bit, I can get a better position at the start of the climb. Look, my watts come back off again, 160, 180, and then we're back into the climb, but my positioning is better. And that's big for me. I really think that's like a little pro tip to hill climbs, is that I struggle on the hill climbs. I just reasonably new to this type of cycling. A few guys firing in their feathers. I've got a feather, but I think I was deciding to try and wait until the top half of the hill to use it. I think that was going to be my plan. I remember thinking that. But then these guys all use it and then they cycle off. And I'm like, right, if I get dropped on the hill, then I'm not going to be in it on the second lap. And this is game over. So I decided to drop my feather and then have to work to try and stay with this group. So even though I thought my positioning was good coming into the hill, I do realize that actually I didn't put the wattage in. I didn't put the effort in to get up there and hold it. Big shout out to a couple of guys in this race. I'm on Zwift Power. I'm just having a quick look. The guy that won it, interestingly, did 12 watts per kg for 15 seconds at the finish line. So I'm a bit skeptical about that. His weight is not on Zwift Power. His heart rate's not on Zwift Power. His age isn't on Zwift Power. I don't know how he's locked all that down, but you can't see any of that. Back to the race, guys. Look, it's breaking up, and I'm like, right, 160, if I hit 170, that's threshold. That's above threshold, right? I can't hold that. My threshold is 165. After that, it's all like, right, I can't sustain it. Getting 169, 170, like, that's on a climb. But I knew that if I wanted to be in with this race, I had to hold this group. That was my only option. So, as I mentioned on the first lap, my plan was obviously to work a bit harder. There's the group, a couple of guys riding up. My plan was that I had to work off the top longer. That was going to be it. But I decided that, this is it. Monday morning, 7 a.m. I got out of bed. I might as well try and work and catch the group. 170 HR. That hurts me. That really hurts. 171. That really hurts. But so, yeah, we get to the top, and I was like, okay, got to ride off the top. So I try and hold it a little bit, try and push a little bit. And then the group looks like it might be breaking up just slightly. And then I kind of feel like I'm back on here, which is pretty good going. And then it's pretty comfy from here. I knew that once you've ridden the hill, the wattage comes off for the rest of the lap. It's a little bit easier, and I can hold that. I can hold 230. That's fine. But the 300 odd watts. And then it looks like the front of the first group is just attacking that little bit. So I'm not all the work is done yet. They've ridden off the top. I'm in A group. There's a little bunch of us. I know that I'm getting a bit of a draft. That's good. We're all good. But I'm still at 170, still having to work really quite hard to kind of catch up and let the group build up. If I get dropped here, then it's game over. We're completely off. I'm not going to have a chance whatsoever. So we all work back. I think the guys at the front, they just let the pace come off a little bit. And, I think that's to their fault, really, because if they'd ridden a bit harder, they would have dropped 4 or 5 of us quite easily. I say that like it's an easy thing to do, like kudos to anyone. But there are 2 guys riding off the front as well. Diving back into the Zwift Power chat, a few guys just don't have weight on their Zwift Power. A few guys don't have heart rates on their Zwift Power, so I find that quite interesting. So we're coming into the back end of the last lap, like mile and a half to go, just over 2k. I've done the same thing here again, guys, which is go to the front on the start of the climb, on the flat stuff. And then just work a little bit and let the power come off and let people kind of move through. and that has worked really well for me, and this is a good example of it working well for me again, because I'm happy to let the group come through, but my positioning was like 10-15 meters ahead, and then the group comes back, a couple of guys using their feather. Obviously this is the last lap now, the second of 2, so I wanted to make sure I had my feather for when I finish the race or come into that sprint, and we'll get into the sprint in a bit. But so I think there's like 15 of us now that look like we are going to be taking this home, which is good. I think we started with 24, so we've dropped 10 or so people. I presume most would have dropped off on that climb. But then you can see, look, this is what I'm talking about, is the wattage then comes off quite a bit. My heart rate's still quite high, I'm 165, so I am working. And then with a mile to go, you kind of know that you're hitting that danger zone, that kind of like, right, we better be ready to go. I wish I could figure out who was the guy that takes it home for the win, because he's got a Strava profile and looks like he rides and stuff, but hitting 12 watts per kg on the sprint at the finish there's the guy, that guy in the... who just came up. I think he's wearing the black jersey that says Zwift on it in bright orange, bright yellow and bright pink. So he's got the blue and yellow cap on. He's the guy that holds 12 watts per kg for the sprint at the finish for like 10 seconds. So like I'm very interested to know if that's you, dude. Like, just come say hi. So he puts in a good sprint. He puts in a very good sprint finish to take home the win. So keep an eye on him. He's on my left now. Yeah, he's got the Zwift jersey on, and he's just dropped back. It's the pink and black jersey with the pink and the yellow writing on it. So I decided to try and like move up in the group, kind of be in with a shout. When everyone goes, I want to be in it. 165 on the HR, which I'm pretty happy with. I will also say, guys, I came into this when I first started Zwift Racing thinking that my HR max was like 174. I'm hitting 176 regularly now. I went up to 180 the other day. So this is such phenomenally good training. I've really enjoyed it. Look, I am struggling a bit here. No secret. That second hill really took it out of me. But there's still a bit of effort left in this old dog. So a few guys move off, and again, guys, keep an eye on the black jersey with the Zwift, the blue and yellow hat. I'm pretty sure he's the guy that just hits the sprint and then just disappears. So I'm a bit curious as to what he's got his weight in. Look, he just absolutely fires off. He does 12 watts per kg to take home the sprint. I mean, is he even using a power up? I'm not even sure. So that was phenomenal from him, and if his running stats aren't great on Strava, so dude, come on, have a chat, let's see whether that's real. Anyway, that's that, guys. Pretty happy with that. I think I came 9th in the race I had nothing on the sprint. Once again, I think I basically ballsed up the sprint because I tried to change a gear during the sprint, which I'm just not very good at. I need to work on my sprints, but I still enjoy it. Pretty cool race. Good couple of hills. I'm not sure I'll do it again. I might try and I might try and give it a crack in the Bs. Anyway, let's have a quick look at some of the stats, if anyone does care. We have timeline stats. You can basically see that where the hills are. There's the 2 hills, or you can see where all the hills, and that's basically the only part of the race that's hard. Cheers, guys. I will see you on the next one.